General government? Going once, John.
Did anybody know how much Friendly Meals pays for that space in Lincoln, or did they get it for free?
They don't pay anything for it. The Friendly Meals organization is very proud of the fact that it's never raised or spent $1 on anything other than food. So no salaries, no electricity, which is a real problem for Langdon, because that's where the freezers are now. It used to be in Alstead. No wages, no insurance, no health care, no nothing except food. And I've been on those food runs, and they're amazing. Most of that food is paid for through a combination of the New Hampshire Food Bank and New Hampshire Catholic Charities, and it's paid for at the rate of 17.5 cents a pound, no matter what it is. It's weird, but it's cool in a way. Judy.
Just a correction, we do have a freezer here.
Across the way. And that actually serves the meals portion of it, not the food shelf portion of it, most of the time.
Correct.
There's one here, which you're going to remind me to plug in before we go.
Yeah.
Aren't you? General government? So, what's next that's interesting?
I have a question, John.
Oh,
Just on this, Article 17, how much is in the town hall capital reserve fund?
64,000-ish. And I put that on there because it was controversial last year. I don't actually know whether I'll support that warrant article again this year. But
67,695.24 as of the end of November.
there you go. So it's probably a third of that now. Given the stock market. Carol!
Shouldn't be.
Just a minor thing, Kelly, in case you didn't catch it, there's a typo in Article 16. You got left off the zero on the first 50,000. Or somebody did Joel with one typos.
16?
Yeah.
Yeah.
$50.
Pretty good deal. If you're exhausted by talking about individual budgets, I'm happy to jump over to individual warrant articles. The choice is yours. And we can always jump back if a warrant article stimulates a budget area discussion. I'm happy to talk about that.
I'd like to hear, I mean, I will say we probably cut a few line items that a few of the department heads did not approve of or particularly like. Do any of the department heads want to speak to any of those line items in their budgets? Maybe that might generate a little conversation between you guys and the department heads. How's that? That might be fine. There you go.
So for the police budget,
Which page are we on, please? For everybody's reference?
page 8, I think it is. 7 and 8.
They're towards the bottom 6.
Yeah, so I'm going to be looking at page 8, the bottom line. I think that's $203,881. Is that right? Page 8.
203,881.
Okay. So there's just a couple things that I wanted to bring up and bring to the table for tonight. That way, if it needs to come up next at the deliberative session, it can. The police budget saw about $9,000 increase in expenses, 2 new increases in our budget, and those were the vehicle lease, which is about $6,300, and also fuel is a new item that had never been on there. And what I'd like to propose is adding $4,000 to the police budget to help offset those increases.
So the logic behind this, if I may interpret, this is the first year that we have broken out fuel costs by department. We should have been doing it all along. Historically, back when diesel was $4 a gallon, we were spending $60,000 a year in budgeting for $60,000 of fuel, and we put it in a lump sum in general government, which probably worked really well for 150 years. But last year, in the beginning of the year, we decided to track it and break it out and assign that expense to individual departments. So if I hear you correctly, you're recommending that the voters increase your bottom line by $4,000 to offset the $4,000 we moved from general government into your budget. Did I say that right?
Sounds perfect.
Yeah, what you're saying is that because your budget now has $6,123 in vehicle lease and $3,000 in fuel, when we look at the bottom line for, we look at the bottom line where you're at 203 this year and 203 requested for next year, are you saying that that's actually a $10,000 reduction in funds for your department?
Yeah,
Okay.
there's $9,123 in those two items, vehicle leases and fuel.
Right.
And there's other things as well that have changed in the department that we need to keep in mind as we move forward.
Okay. And one of those things is we are no longer on a pursuit for a police chief to replace you. That we've gone about things in a different way, that we're looking to develop officers from within the department to become supervisory roles, and we're gonna bring in people at the more, not entry level, but bus experience level. And that does give us a cost saving.
I don't know if we're gonna be saving money to have a police officer. Well, let me just explain that, because that came up earlier, somebody mentioned why we didn't hire a chief, so let me just explain what the forecast is for the police department. So we did not hire a chief because there was not a person that was, that made the cut, however way you wanna put it. We did not hire a police chief. So now we're in a position where we had spent a year where I worked part-time, minimum amount of hours, because I employed full-time in another police department as a school resource officer. So we are in a position now where we need to find help for Officer Landry, our only full-time officer. So what I presented, what the police department presented, we had a staff meeting, and what we presented to the selectmen was a strategy that we would hire another full-time officer to fill my vacancy, my spot. That person would be hired as a police officer, not as a police chief. That it would give us a little bit more flexibility to find a police officer, a certified police officer, instead of a police chief, which is a little more difficult to find in the police world. Anyway, the idea is to hire this person. We have a search happening right now, and in the next 3 years, I plan on completely stepping down, and we would like, there will be a recommendation to the selectmen to hopefully mentor one of those officers to become our next police chief. So I would be no longer a part-time police chief for the town, and one of those two officers would become your police chief. In the meantime, I'm committed to staying on until it happens. 3 years is my max that I would be able to do that.
We made a conditional offer of employment to a police chief candidate we like. What happened to that?
I can't speak for what exactly happened then. I think that's a decision that.
Well, I just want to know, is that gone forever?
It became apparent that it would be a length of time before he could become enrolled and pass through the academy classes that he would need to have.
Right.
And that would have taken us into August of this year.
Right.
It was determined at that time and agreed with the select board, and I think with you, that would not be a good path to go down, that we needed some help for Roger sooner rather than later. So that's kind of where we're at.
But what about having this guy as chief after he goes through all that in December or next year? Is that gone?
I would recommend to the selectmen that would be just, we've already waited a year. It's been too long. We need to get help in the department ASAP.
No, I understood that. What I had heard was that we had made an interim plan to get to a chief, but now we're not doing it. Is that true?
No, the interim plan, Well, yes, this is the interim plan. So
Yes.
this is the interim plan is that we're going to hire another officer and within the next
I heard you say that,
years.
so this guy is not under consideration at all.
As what? Which guy?
The guy who made a conditional offer.
No, he's full-time employed somewhere else. That person is not in the running for this position.
Okay, he knows this.
Yes.
Okay, all right, that clears it up.
So that's what happened. Any questions on that? Does that make sense? So we have that as a, if you look at my wages, $7,500 is a little high. Actually, I average probably right now, I'm averaging about 4 hours a week. So I'm going to be at 4 to 10 hours a week. 10 hours being the max. It's not going to be over that. That's my scheduling and the budget. 4 hours being the least. I'll have set office hours, most likely Monday night, Tuesday night, or Wednesday night. 2 of those 3 nights. And as the 3 years goes on, and I'm planning on presenting this to the selectmen, as the 3 year period goes on, that 7,500 is going to slowly come out, diminish, and move over to the lieutenant position, and soon eventually the chief position. So that's the plan. We mentored the last police chief, which was me. Bob Bromley was my boss, and over a 5-year period, I went from being an officer to a sergeant to a lieutenant to the police chief. And I think we can do it again. I think it makes the most sense for the town, for the department. I think we can do it.
And we were certainly well pleased with the results of that experiment. First time. I'm speaking for everyone in the room.
Thank you.
We were really pleased to have you and sorry to see you go.
So,
Other questions about the police budget?
I just have a question for Martello. On cell phones, we spent almost 1,500, we're down 12. Are we doing away with landline phones? If we had spent 1,600 and going down to 600?
I don't plan on doing away with any phones.
I can speak to that one.
Oh,
That was the, phone line between the school and the police station, which I, had misunderstood to be a hotline, like you pick it up and it instantly rings there and you can talk to them. But that's not the case. What that actually is a, auto dialing paging system that if they hit a panic button in the school, it will automatically dial that phone, it'll automatically dial, who else, chief?
Dispatch.
Dispatch and
Dispatch first, then our office.
then on us.
so
So-
you went away with that?
No.
Oh,
In our ignorance, the selectmen decided to do away with it a couple of weeks ago because we didn't have Martello and Aruga smart us out.
Right. So
But that's
that,
over now.
right. So now that we actually know what that is, and we did have, at least I can't say my preconceived notion of what it was, I would support actually putting that money back into that.
And part of the $4,000 that I'm asking for increase is stuff like this, like that.
3,600 now.
oh my God.
I'd like to see some other items on the budget that seem short to me that could use that $4,000. I mean, if we want to go through every item, we can, but there are some other items on there that we could use some help.
Since you're part-time, were you getting phone coverage for those?
No, the question was, because I'm a part-time employee, do I get health coverage? I don't get any medical insurance. I don't pay into the police pension. I just pay, the town pays Social Security and Medicare out of my
So
pay.
you want to ask for double what you spent because of the possibility of another full-time officer?
Yes. Yeah, so we have the wages and the wages and detention, medical insurance, and wages are double because of our anticipated hire of this second officer.
Which could occur before this budget passes.
I plan on making a recommendation to the select board with somebody, hopefully, We have one more person we may or may not interview. We've interviewed one person so far, and I plan on making a recommendation to the board for the next week or two. We have three applicants, two certified in state, one out of state.
Were there other specific line items that you would feel should be adjusted, or does anyone feel they should?
Harold's got a
This
feeling.
is an important one. You just mentioned FICA, and we need to clarify whether or not they're getting paid FICA, because there's no line item for FICA in that department.
We don't pay like
They don't see it.
Well, I do, I pay FICA, the full-time officers do not. I never had paid FICA,
but
now that I'm a part-time employee, I believe, I'm almost certain I'm.
What about Penny? Mason's government reporter on this. Okay, check.
There is fine.
So we need to clarify that.
FICA must be general government.
I'm not sure if there's a quick answer for that question, but it's one that we need to research. And, yeah, it's a.
Yeah, I was just bringing it up so it's put on the hit list.
There you go.
Yeah. Right, so we had $1,000 in FICA, now you've got $2,600.
I need that.
Other questions about the PD? There's one.
Do we have police around the clock, Monday through, I mean, every day of the week, once you get more people, or are we still gonna? do
We've
Monday through
always
Thursday?
operated on an 80-hour-a-week schedule. 40 hours for one officer, 40 hours for the other. Now, since we've always lived in town, the officers were Alstead residents. We weren't technically on call, but we had take-home cruisers, and there were many times where we did have to work on our time off. Just either someone knocking on our door or us getting a call from dispatch. So I can't say to you that we're gonna be on 24/7 on a schedule. That's not gonna happen with the money we have in our budget. But I can say to you that we'll be working 80 hours a week, a day shift and an evening shift, and then be available for shortages.
But if I call the police at 1 o'clock in the morning, and I have to wait 35 minutes for Dean to come, and that's happened, and the state police,
Yeah.
is that gonna keep happening?
If they're coming from Keene, yes. Yeah, when the schedule that we stick to, and it's unfortunate, but the schedule we stick to is we work hours where there's the most activity. So day shift and evening shift is when we get the most calls, but the 2, 3 o'clock in the morning 911 call, we're not driving around typically at 3 o'clock in the morning. So we would be
Don't tell
at
them
the
that.
state. What's that?
Don't tell them that.
Not typically, okay, not typically. So, yeah, to answer the question, you're still gonna get those, even with this budget, you're still gonna get them.
So part of that's a budget decision, part of that's a result of a wider town conversation we had 3 years ago when we tried to figure out how big a police department we wanted. And the answer we came up with then, and the answer we're going with now, is 2 full-time people, supplemented by the state police in the off hours. We've had good luck with that recently with the state police, even though we're down 1 full-time guy. I know you've all seen him more often than you used to, and I think that's terrific.
That decision was reinforced this year by the MSG going through and looking at the police department too, almost a year ago now.
Just for context, and this may be helpful to you and anybody else who has a budgetary concern, the New Hampshire Police Standards and Training Group recommends that for a town this size, we have 5 full-time officers to provide that 24/7 coverage plus time off for illness, vacations, and training. And we're not very close to being ready for that right now, but it's always out there if the voters decide to change our minds. Right? Because you get the last word. We propose, you dispose. What else for PD? Irwin? department's still available.
No, he isn't.
Just trivia, just a point of trivia, the first police cruiser, we got a new police cruiser. But the first Alstead police cruiser was purchased in 1974. Erwin Ward. Oh.
What's your pleasure for another department or a warrant article, ladies and gentlemen, at 8:27?
I think there's only one thing, Sam Sutcliffe couldn't be here. He mentioned the trees up on the common in Alstead Center, I believe, that they are deteriorating. He wanted a warrant article put on to possibly take those trees down.
Not a problem.
All of them?
No.
I guess all of them are getting pretty, I don't know how to look at it.
A lot of them are very dead and some of them are still got some, all pruning.
Are you recommending we add it as a warrant?
Well, Sam is, I believe that we could probably work it in with our budget, but we got a lot of tree work. I mean, the money that was already allocated is gonna get chewed up rather quickly, so it doesn't take long to chew it through 5,000 that month, right?
Right. And that tree right back here disappeared. Then we got the flag out of the tree over there by cutting the limb off. I get sick of that. Flag is all snarled up in the tree, you couldn't get it out. It's gone now.
So I'm just actually bringing it up, so it's just can be, if it is a warrant article or discussed further at another meeting.
Certainly makes sense to me to have the voters amend Article 2.
To increase that a little
To
bit.
support that. I mean, we already have that line item, we just want to make it bigger. Other departments of interest?
I just have a question. Did you ever find out what stone wall is it, and it has to be repaired?
Oh, the things behind the town hall are all, town offices are all tipping over.
The retaining wall?
The retaining walls, but it's kind of up in the air of what we want to try to do to it. You want to put concrete back, you want to pour something, you want to put the stones back. I need some input. What do you want back there? Before you can get
What's there now?
flat stones, but they're all laying out.
Yeah, it's about ready to fall over.
I don't think it was properly built when it was put in there back in 1967 when the building was done. I looked at them, and the one on in the back of the building, facing the building, the one on the right-hand side, there's a spruce tree, the big gas tank, the generator, everything in the way. My suggestion was with a small excavator, they tear that wall out, or a cement wall, because you don't really see that wall anyway. There's too much stuff in front of it. The one on the left-hand side, towards Miller Green, needs to be taken down and some footing business put in, and when it's built, it'll have stone behind it, the drainage and stuff, which I'm sure these don't. The septic system is also behind that wall on the left-hand side, so when it caves, we're opening up a mess. So I think it could be 50-50. That's only my opinion, as Chris keeps saying. It's only my opinion. If you want to pop it, that's good.
Other topics of interest? Banana.
I just had a question on article, we have two different articles in here to raise money, I don't know where it is for the fire department. One of them is for the fire department for the capital reserve fund. And then the other one is Article 12 for the new fire truck. Are we gonna because there's gonna be a lot of discussion on this. Are you going to put them together instead of, no, you're gonna leave them?
No, the way the law is written, if we want to put money into a capital reserve fund, in or out actually, it has to be a single standalone warrant article that says in, with nothing else. And if it's out, it has to have a purpose.
No, I understand that.
Okay.
What I meant is put them closer together as.
Yes, someone else suggested that, and we agreed to do that.
Because if
That
somebody,
makes perfect sense.
if somebody doesn't read this, if this article was before the other article, in the second article, people would say, whoa, wait a minute, we just bought a $460,000 fire truck and pumper, and now you want us, you know, what's our plan down the line? You're also asking us for $80,000 to put in. That's all I'm saying, is if we could put them together, it would be easier to discuss them as a whole.
And the other thing we asked too is if you clarify the stone wall work for the cemetery, which cemetery it was.
That's Slade, over at the corner of Pratt Road and Local Valley Road.
Yeah, the budget committee knew that, but we were asking that that be put on the warrant article to clarify everything else.
I think we can probably